Howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast. We fooled you with the open. That's no Josh Furston. That is Michael Gray. The Gray is back. How you doing, brother?
Hey, man, you got a fancy new countdown clock. Look at that.
Yeah.
Flashing new graphics, big budget. Huh?
Well, new hobby, maybe. You know how it gets. So fun to have you back, brother. It's so fun. People been asking. People been asking. I'm like, he's busy. He's just busy. Trust me. It's all good. He's just got a lot going on. So.
Yeah, I won't bore anyone with the details, but 2024 kicked more of my ass than I knew I had.
Did you get gout?
It was I got a hole drilled through my spine, bro.
Oh man.
Yeah, I had all kinds of things going on that I had to deal with, and so yeah, it kind of sucked. But football's gotten me through it, and I'm kind of more or less back to where I was before, which was entirely mediocre. But you gotta work really hard to be this half-assed.
Yeah. Well, this is a good year, and this is a year that will absolutely get you back to your healthy space. We got a lot to talk about today, and we're going to do a little bit of a reflection on 2024, talk about the season itself. Then we're going to start looking ahead to the game, injury return, some key matchups, the biggest worries that we may have, maybe even a little bit of a couple predictions. Got all that and a whole lot more. Mike, you ready to go, brother?
Yeah, let's get it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
Whoops. Oh boy, do I have problems. My mic stand just...
What are you doing over there?
Mic stand just fell off, so I'll just hold it for the rest of the time. Then it'll be all right.
Buddy, I've been there.
I don't have a commercial break, though.
you need to fix it? I can soliloquy for a second. I don't know how much time you need.
Nah, I'll just go with it because it's kind of a tight spot to get. So we'll roll.
Gotcha.
Like we just do it. I'll just kind of wave this at people every now and then in anger. All right, let's get to it. We got a good show here. We got a lot to talk about. First off, let's start off with and this would be great because we didn't have you this year, Mike, to talk about all this. Reflections on 2024, the Lions season. What has it meant to you, to me, to fans, and to Detroiters, who've been tuning into this for either 10 minutes or for 10 years or 10 decades? What's it feel like? What's your look at this season?
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, it's the most successful season any of us have seen. I turned 50 in a couple of weeks. I've been waiting for this one for a minute. People ask a lot. That helmet behind me, I got that when I was 6 for Christmas. Slept in it. Like, I've been waiting for a long, long time for this. So obviously there's that. I think there are a lot of the statistical stuff, the All Pros, the Pro Bowls, all of those things kind of, they explain themselves. The thing that I think I've heard nothing of, and that's just, and the people in the Slack, I'm in the Slack channel. And, I know I've bored you and Risden to death with this. The thing that drives me nuts is the inability for our media powers that be, not you, Justin Rogers, you're great, love you. But the powers that be to not ask the right question. The most striking thing to me about the 2024 season is how in the midst of all of this success, with everything that went on, is the authenticity of this staff and this organization. I was in sports for a long time, covered a lot of teams. Most of them were a pain in the ass. From Bo Pelini and Mark D'Antonio on the hard to deal with side to Jim Schwartz and kind of some secrecy, and a lot of it was off the record. Dude, Dan Campbell just keeps telling us the truth, and nobody's ready for it. I was out of my mind the week of the San Francisco game because they kept coming, are you going to play your players? Are you going to play your players? These booger pickers are asking him a question that I'm 2 time zones away, and I know the answer. It's a stupid question. Because he's telling you, yeah, I only have one gear, bro. There's just, there's like that. If you've ever been on an old lawnmower, the rabbit and the turtle ain't home. It's just rabbit. Go. Like, that's all the man's got. He keeps telling us the truth. And that's so rare.
It's so the thing you've heard it. I mean, and you've heard it on the post game show, the same frustrations, the same. These people are the mouth of the fan. They get the opportunity to get the fan access that they don't have. They're supposed to be the ones getting this, not creating the narrative, not creating a story, but getting the story and pulling the information out. And they ask a question: how does it feel to have the best record. I mean, what's the answer to how do you feel to anything on something so freaking obvious? You know, how do you feel about the death of your mother? You know, I was cheering pretty hard there for at the end, but you know, it didn't work. I mean, dumb questions.
Yeah, no, bad. Like, you know, asking Jamison Williams, what's your favorite part of being fast? So yeah, no, that's the thing that rung through, and I think you saw it throughout the season. You know, I mentioned the San Francisco game. On the other side of things, you know, the series of events that led to James Houston no longer being in Detroit. Every time he was asked about him, like, he's telling you the truth. There's a lot of coach speak out there. I encourage fans, the week of a game, go jump on YouTube, go grab the other team's pressers. This is especially true if it's a Green Bay week, because Matt LaFleur, like, you want to see the other version of this, the politician, the game show host, the egomaniac, like that's where you can find that. And so that was the part I kept coming back to all season long, is as they're going through this, I kept waiting for the ego, for any of that to emerge. Dude is locked in. He's 100% authentic to who he is. He didn't change a bit.
Yeah.
And you see the team reflects that. And you know that because they brought in 29 different practice squad players from around the league in about a 3-week span.
Yeah.
And within 72 hours, they were all like, well, we're just making the main thing. And it's one game at a time. And we're going to go out there and try to make plays. And they were on board immediately.
You have to say from here on, right? People have I don't trust anyone, you know, wholeheartedly or without question, whatever. But what Brad Holmes has done in scouting player personnel this year to get this team to where it is, no matter what happens from here, you have to just sit back and say, if Brad says we're going to do it, that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me, because the guy just, I'm obviously it's an exaggeration, but the guy just doesn't miss. He just doesn't miss. And to turn this team from where it was when Patricia was gone to where it is today, where it even was last year in that time frame, and where, I mean, I heard, I think it was Riz that said, this is the worst Lions team you're going to see for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. And it's absolutely true. This is, you ready for it? A team built for longevity. I got it out that
time. Longevity or whatever that word was. No, that, you know, it's funny you bring up Brad Holmes, because that was the other thing that keeps coming back to me all season long. Is I think you and I talked about it at the time. We did the live draft show back in 2023. Yeah. And if you go back and you comb through hours of that footage from DLP, you'll hear somebody who sounds and looks an awful lot like me when at the time the Lions traded down to 12, I was like, well, is this when we start talking about Jahmyr Gibbs? Yep. And then they took Jahmyr Gibbs, and everybody with Wi-Fi called him an idiot.
Yeah.
That 2023 draft, you look at this year, you got Jahmyr, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, and anybody that wrote a damn thing about that draft can piss up a rope. Because, man, when you talk about Brad Holmes this year, you look at that draft and you couldn't do anything more. You also have Hendon Hooker, who, you know, whether he's in silver and black next year or what, may still end up being a pretty valuable piece one way or another. You know, if we could just get Bromart on the train, you'd roll Yahtzee on that draft. It's so important to what happened this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's vital.
Well, and you think about if you fast forward to this year's draft, because we've seen some flashes out of it a little bit, but Giovanni Manu, right? I mean, he played that one game and he was just a bulldozer, right? I don't know, just ripped people open. Sione Vake stepping in when he needs to, like playing Rakestraw, Terrion. Right. And then you got Wingo and you got Mahogany. You got guys here that are developmental players, but that look like they're actually going to develop. And you have this kind of luxury as a team to pick players that your team has proven the ability to develop, and that you can get, again, the longevity of the team. You build these players, you build the trenches, and you build the backups for so many years with with Quinn, and even before him with Marty Moore. Not Marty Moore. Oh God, what was his name? He went to Washington.
I've blocked
the GM. I forgot. Yeah.
You talking about Mayhew?
Yeah, Martin Mayhew. Thank you. They would get the flashy starters, and that was it. And if one of those 4 guys went down, the team fell to pieces because those were the only things holding it together. This is a team top to bottom, inside out, that's built with quality and the ability to develop and fill. I mean, that MASH unit they've played with this year is just incredible. Just incredible what they've been able to do.
And going back to being a truth teller, Campbell from June forward said, look, our practice squad matters. These guys are going to have to play.
Yeah.
We put these guys on the practice squad. They're a member of our team. Don't get it twisted. These guys are important to what we do, and they are going to have to produce sometime this season. Now, I wish he was less right than he was, because he was all the way right. He was right with a rocket.
Yeah.
But he again, just getting the truth, having a guy that doesn't change his stripes, 3-13-1, 15-2, same dude.
Yeah.
That's rare. That's rare. And all you need to do is look around the league at all the people that are looking for jobs or recently lost jobs and watch them ride the waves. Yeah. I will, we've learned about Matt LaFleur, haven't we?
Oh,
got a lot of Ryan Day in him. Pretty emotional. He's got a lot of Ryan Day in him. There's a lot of that in there. And I'm saying it, and I've been in contact with my Green Bay friends. I'm like, your team rides the waves because your coach is over there becoming a meme every 5 minutes.
He absolutely is.
And, not just the fact that our guy looks like he was, taken straight from the Parthenon, but,
Adonis over here, right? I mean, gosh.
But yeah, like, who's the guy you want to be in a bar fight with least? It's our guy. Mm-hmm. But just the same, his attitude, his personality, his coaches, his players, they all reflect that. So that was my big take from 2020.
And even if he was a little guy, I just don't think he's getting into a bar fight. You know what I mean? Because he's just nobody wants to, because he's just too freaking cool. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Well, it does help that you're 6'9", 19 inches tall and built like a brick. But I mean, really, he's just not that kind of personality, and that's what's great. Like we're talking about this. He's a guy like you. They talk about wanting to have a beer with a guy, right? And he's not a guy that's going out and putting down a case and getting in fights and causing problems. He has a couple beers, right, and gets just a little buzz, has a good time, enjoys himself, and it's like, this is a fun time. This is a guy that would be just an absolute riot to hang out with, because the jokes are going to be on point, the fun's going to be on point, and I think it's part of why the guys are so into him, because he really is one of those guys. He's just one of the guys. Yeah,
well, I don't know if he'd get into a bar fight, but I'm pretty sure he'd end one.
Yeah, that's for sure. Those meat hooks. All right. So looking back in the season, I mean, it's been historic for the Lions. It's unprecedented, obviously. Where do you go if you look a little bit ahead from this next year? No matter what happens from here, as a coach, say you win it all, say you don't. What's your message to the team to keep them on point after a second season of as much success as they've had?
Doesn't change. I think that's what we've learned.
Yeah.
When he was 3-13-1, he said, this is going to get better. Keep coming back. When they lost in San Francisco last year, he said, you might not ever get here again. No guarantee. And look at teams that have lost the NFC Championship game a couple of times in a row. That third year's tough.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it changes. I think, again, the honesty piece, he acknowledges what's going on for what it is. I think that's why his guys respect him. And I think you've seen the team reflect that attitude with all of the challenges they faced this year, because all of the injuries, everything else that was going on, everything that was supposed to derail the season. I mean, Hutch alone, there were lots of people jumping on a microphone in front of a camera and saying, well, that's it. Your season's over. You got no chance to win this thing. It's going to be the Eagles or the Vikings or, whoever the hot team is that week. They just kept winning, kept going. So I don't think that changes. No matter how the season ends, I don't think it changes, because I don't think he knows how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, you think about what this team is now without Hutch. Can you imagine? I mean, Hutch is
don't do it to yourself.
The year that he
don't
was
do it to yourself.
having, the blood's all rushing.
Nope.
I can't think straight. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic where this team is. Yeah. And I think the messaging, it's going to be interesting because with success, if they were to do it all this year, you don't have it takes more next year. You know what I mean? What is the messaging on that? And that's where I think it's going to be a real test. I really do. I don't think he's not up to the test. Don't get me wrong. But I think what's the messaging to be a repeat offender if you were to win it all, to bring that team together the way he has. I think it's easier to be an underdog than it is to be defending from the top and what that messaging is. So it'll be hopefully it'll be fabulous to see.
Well, I'll tell you again, not to be a broken record, but it takes more again.
Yeah.
You changed the slogan because you got to sell new merch, but that's still, the better you get, the harder it is to get better.
Yeah. So
you better have more.
You better.
Again, yeah, exactly.
There you go. All right, let's get on to it. 2024 season. I just tell you, it's a team that I've loved. You've loved forever, as you mentioned at the top. I've loved this team forever. I remember Billy Sims being drafted. I remember Gary Danielson years. Right. These were the early days of the Lions for me, and working at the Elias Brothers at the Silverdome for 2 quarters, so I could watch the game for 2 quarters for free, just to raise money for a charity as a kid, just to watch football. My heart is so warm and so big after this year, and the how. It's not just what, it's the how. The character of this team. For a long time, I said, I don't care if we hire, I didn't say it too loudly, but I don't care if we hire murderers, just win. Just win. But to be able to win with a team with this kind of character and a coaching staff with this kind of character and ownership with this kind of character, it says so much about the quality of what they've got here.
Yeah, it's why they're winning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's why they're winning. It's a result, not a cause.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's get to the next topic. This is a big one. Key Lyons returning from injury. Mike, we talked about the injuries. I mean, Hutch isn't going to be back this week. Potential they've talked about for the big one if he comes in.
Don't. I'm just Hawkeye at this point in the rain. Don't give me hope. Standing out there after murdering a bunch of Yakuza.
I just think that if he's in this in the big game, I just feel like it's going to be symbolic snaps for him. I don't know that he'll play just because it's so early, and you don't want to set back a player like that.
Pretty powerful symbol.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful symbol.
Then again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's out there and he's the guy he was in week 2. You know what I mean? Let's go. But it's hard to predict. Let's talk about what we have. First off, I think the big one, Knuckles coming back. Dave Montgomery. Does he mean anything to this offense, Mike?
This is another classic example. I was watching the interviews last night. I watched the media avails. We went through this with Anzalone. Oh, they'll have him on a pitch count. Oh, well, he's going to be out there, but is he really going to be out there? His arm was just broken, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing with San Francisco. I've heard so many people now, oh, it'll be a different rotation. It'll be Jaws' show and they'll just put him in on the goal. That is not how this team operates. This goes back to the authenticity page. If he's in, he's in. And they're going to beat the brakes off 5. I promise. It will not surprise me if he's on the field for the first series. Yeah. The entire series. However long it goes. And we will get into some of those matchups and just exactly what Washington might be in for. But now you got to deal with David Montgomery, who hasn't had any contact for a few weeks. He'll be fresh. He's been rehabbing that leg. Obviously, that's a thing. But they're not going to put a guy out there in any sort of partial or symbolic sort of a way at that position. That's not a thing they do.
No.
If he wasn't ready to go, all the way go, full go, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't put him out there.
And that's really the thing, because they do have players in Netflix and Craig Reynolds, right, and Sione Vake who've been able to step up and play very strong roles with of course with Joe Gibbs out there carrying the load. They've been able to do it without problem. There's no reason to hinder themselves by putting a 80% Monty out there.
Right. Yeah, and then you get the other ones. I think one of the things we are not making enough of is getting Anzo back, having him get a rust week.
Yeah.
go bump around in there, then getting 2 weeks, another week of rehab on that arm, coming back, feeling pretty good. He played awfully well for a guy that said he was real sore afterwards. I mean, you look at the scar and the photo and everything else that went into having, you got a Wolverine forearm now with that titanium plate. Same thing with Leaf, with Khalif Raymond. He's a guy who went out there, got to bump around a little bit after a long absence. Terrion Arnold scared everybody, myself included. When I saw him go off on the cart, I was just,
oh man,
my kids, my daughter especially, she's almost 17, and she's all in. She's learned ball this year, like she knows football, and she's also learned some profanity she didn't know before watching the games with me.
I'm sorry.
When they put Terrion on that cart, and I said some things that I can't not say, like I can't take them back, and she just looked at me like, "Dad," I'm like, what do I do? So yeah, having him back, and you mentioned Brad Holmes, the fact that they've got Amik out there. The new one today, we know Zeitler's not going to be in. That just came down right before you and I sat down to do this. Mahogany looked really good. Now, he looked really good against the Bears. There are Girl Scout troops that might look really good against the Bears. They were rotten this year. But he's the kind of guy he's going to be playing between Ragnow and Sewell.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty nice place to be.
Yeah.
That's, not for nothing. I'm not saying it's the easiest job in football because playing guard's dirty work, but he likes it, and when you go back and you watch the tape of him, he was cleaning up guys if he didn't have somebody to block, he was going to go block a guy that was getting blocked.
Yeah.
Ask Frank Ragnow about the help hits that he got from Mahogany. So, you can roll with that. You put somebody in there, and I think they'll be ready to roll with him.
Yeah. And that's what I meant to talk
it's
about
good on
earlier.
The health front.
I met Mahogany, I was talking about somebody else. So anyway, yeah, Mahogany's out there and just laying the wood. I again, not worried with the development we've seen in the players that Hank Fraley's been able to put with these guys and with this line. Again, these guys for years, unfortunately, have been cycling backups in and out. It's the nature of the offensive line in the NFL today.
Right.
And it's been almost without change to the quality of what they've done. Dan Skipper as a left tackle, who would have ever predicted him to be able to play the way he did? Man.
How about Dan Skipper as a feature on ESPN.com?
Yeah.
The guy's he's getting columns written about him now.
Yeah. Well, he's
doing photo shoots with Dan Skipper.
I love Skip so much. He's so great. And he's the guy that, like the year of Hard Knocks, every locker room celebration, every picture of the team that you saw post game or even on the sideline or whatever, he was in there. And I was like, it's just because he's so big, you can't miss him. But he was just always there. He's got a nose for the camera. I think my guy is ready for his job in the booth. Getting ready for it pretty soon. But
he's also 6'9", so he takes up a fair bit of space.
Yeah, he does take some real estate. So Terrion coming back, that is a really big deal. Great to have him back. And that's a thing. The Lions are not afraid to take penalties out there playing defense in the secondary. And that's and I think the most penalized team, the second one most penalized, is the Washington Commanders. And we've got one of the highest flag DPI throwing groups of officials this week. So what does that mean? We probably won't see any calls, right? That's how it always works.
Right.
But it works well because they don't call it all the time. It's one of the things, like, for a long time, Green Bay got away with holding forever. They got called here and there, but they knew they weren't going to get called every play for holding, and that's how that offensive line held up. I feel like there's a little bit of that in our secondary. Terrion's out there as a kid, as a first-year cornerback, trial by fire. And here's something for people. I just want to make a quick comparison. Darius Slay, we've said this a bunch of times on the show, but he was benched his first year. And Sauce Gardner's a little special, but nobody plays first-year cornerback in the NFL and does a good job. Except Terrion, Sauce, you probably one hand you can count these guys. He's out here as an absolute 100% starter. He's only getting better. He's only getting better from here. This is what a pickup, what a find. What a player. We've got a guy we haven't seen a lot of coming back also, Ennis Rakestraw. Should see him on the field this week.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully in a reserve role. If they can keep some continuity in there and perhaps on special teams. I know he was dealing with an illness here a couple of days ago, so no idea what where he'd be at for game day, but he's another guy that he's going to be one of those guys we're talking about next year.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's right. We did have a second round pick in the draft, and we do have some depth that's pretty young and also cost controlled for at least the next couple of years, because the guys that aren't cost controlled all cashed in. So
yeah, big time.
And there's more of that coming.
I want to talk to you about an injury that isn't on our team, because it was a hypothetical, but when Hutch went down, people were screaming to get Crosby to pull him out of Las Vegas. Their season's over. He's the guy, whatever. And he winds up hurt. And it's one of the things that I said before he was hurt. I said, do you want to sink the capital that it takes into getting a guy like Crosby onto the team? And then if he gets hurt, you've not only hurt yourself this year, but you've mortgaged your future to do it. And I mean, people were saying, well, no, our first pick is basically a third rounder next year, or a second rounder next year. It's like, yeah, but now it's a third rounder if you trade it away, right? And next year you don't have a first rounder either. Would that be worth it? Now, we have hindsight here, but where were you at then, and where are you now on that whole getting Crosby for the team kind of thing at that point?
I mean, it was always fantasy football.
Yeah.
But man, like if you just close your eyes and go, you got 97 on one edge and 98 on the other, that's a good luck.
Yeah.
Like Godspeed to Caleb, to Jordan, to, whoever happens to be JJ, Sam Darnold, whoever it is. And it would have been great. You don't get those guys. They were never going to get those guys. The implications, what it would have cost, all of that. And the fact that you're dealing with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Show me the last good business move the Raiders made. I'll wait. Like there was never a chance. It'd be amazing, because we've been waiting for somebody to develop on that edge opposite of Hutch for a long time, and still are. Although, if Nate Tice is to be believed, and he's a pretty sharp guy, he's brainy, very quietly, the Lions have amassed one of the, if not the highest pressure rate in the league since they picked up Za'Darius.
Yeah.
I would not have known that. I would not have guessed, because they're not getting home. It's not ending in sack totals. But those pressures, as we all know, having watched years of football, they add up, and they're going to absolutely, like the defensive line game, and I know we'll get to this in a minute, it couldn't be more important come Saturday.
Let's do it.
Those guys have got to be on point.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's get to it. Let's start talking about matchups to watch. You want to start with that D-line?
Well, I'll start with the D-line of the Commanders, because that's my number one question. My number one question is, what can Washington do with their 30th ranked run defense?
Mm-hmm.
When you've got Monty back, when Gibbs has been playing video game football for the last 3 weeks, and that Lions rushing attack is what it is.
Yep.
Over and over again, I've heard the locals out of the DC area saying, well, they just, they just need to dominate that Detroit offensive line. That's your plan? Okay.
Yeah, you're right. They do.
All right.
So you're saying so you're picking Detroit, right?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I've been saying this all year, and really in the Slack having these conversations. For Detroit all year long, but especially with the injuries on defense, Detroit's offense doesn't so much present a challenge to an opposition's defense as it does an opposition's offense. And hear me out, because this is counterintuitive. But the way Detroit plays offense takes coaches and offenses on the opposite sideline out of their game. You saw it happen with the Vikings. They started going for fourth downs early when they didn't need to.
Yep.
It was out of character. And unlike the Lions and the Commanders, to a large extent, because Dan Quinn turns into Dan Campbell on fourth down, which is a weird thing.
Yeah,
but you see it with teams that don't try the fourth downs all the time. You know what they don't know how to do? They don't know how to fail at them.
Yeah.
It's not even the conversion rate. It's when you get one wrong, does it take all the air out of the tires? Because it absolutely did to the Vikings. Go back and look at them.
Yeah.
Go back and watch Justin Jefferson come off the field when they failed in the red zone. And then they did it again. And then they did it again. And you keep doing this, and you're doing things that your team knows are out of character.
Yeah.
Your team gets, like, your players know, like, this isn't how we do this. And so Detroit's offense can dictate so much to the other team offensively. And that's where I really think Washington could get in a bind. Detroit cannot waste early offensive possessions. That's another thing that's come up in the last couple of months where I've taught my kids some new words. When, if they go 3 and out, they start punting in the first quarter, Daddy, get angry. Because that really is, you can set it up from there. This offense is so incredible, so dynamic, and so everywhere that if you can get a team on the back foot early, they can't run their offense.
It's over.
And their defense is toasted by virtue of what you've done to them. Yeah. So you're taking both their primary squads right out of the game. And they could do that to this squad because the crowd is going to be bananas. It's going to be 8:00 local time in Detroit. Good Lord. The entire 313 is going to be tuned. Yeah. I think you get on them early, and if they can run the ball a little bit, it's going to be really tough for Washington.
And this is where I think it's a little different than it has been for this team and most teams historically. Because I don't disagree with anything you've said, right? We have dictated and we've been in the mind, and psychologically other teams play our game every single week. It's crazy. We just had a bye week. A lot of times teams come out of a bye a little bit flat, and you hear about that and you worry about what happens. I don't think Lions fans need to worry so much. This is a team that won't, again, the psychology of this team is they don't want to come out slow. They don't want to come out flat, but they are not going to defeat themselves like the Vikings did by going 4 and out. That wouldn't happen to the Lions. The Lions are not built that way. If they start slow, don't panic because, again, you're facing the 29th ranked offense, 30th runoff or defense, 30th ranked defense, 29th.
Rusty.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, those words. and you've got the top offense in the league. It's okay. This team, there's so many weapons and there's so much power. And when you talk about our offensive line against their defensive line, I don't know. I mean, even if they still had Chase Young, which, whatever he is, wherever he is these days, whatever he's doing, right? I mean, he looked like he was going to be spectacular, but they just don't seem to have the juice against a line like this. And you put a second tackle in there with Skip. I mean, forget it. Monty, they're going to run wherever they want.
Yeah, and allow me to torture a metaphor, but I'm a Detroiter and you're a Detroiter, so this one will make sense. The way I look at this offense all year long, it's a drag car. And being a kid that spent some time in Flint, Michigan at Industrial Avenue watching quasi-legal drag racing, and by that I mean entirely illegal drag racing. When you've got a car where if you can catch it off the line, they can't get you.
Yep.
But you also have the torque and the horses to where if you slip, if you miss on the line and you spin the tires, you've got enough torque to catch up.
Yep.
And that's what this offense has been. Even when they slip off the line, if somebody else gets them and it's okay, now it's 10-3, it's 13-3, whatever it is, all of a sudden now 3rd, 4th, 5th gear, you're going by them.
Yep.
And that's where this is. But I'm also a fan, just as selfishly as a fan. I don't like close games. I don't like fun competitive contests. 45-0 at half would be just fine. Something where I don't, where I'm not looking for my lisinopril to get the heartbeat, to get the blood pressure down. I don't need to deal with any of that. We can just enjoy an evening and I can go to bed without the sweats. That'd be great.
Well, and that's the other part about the offensive line is it's bully ball to a T. They beat that defense up and they will wear them down no matter what happens early. And again, I'm not saying I want that. We've seen this happen to teams before, and I just want Lions fans to recognize it's don't freak out, don't panic, don't melt down on Twitter. This offense will just it's almost like an MMA fight where you watch a fighter over like a 5-round fight, especially just taking apart and breaking down the other fighter piece by piece by piece until they've got nothing left and they give up. That's what this offensive line does. That's what this offense does to other teams. And I expect no matter how this game goes, that by the end of this game, and it's why teams like Minnesota has lost both games after they played Detroit. Why that Detroit Lions Honolulu hangover was real, because they just beat the shit out of that other team.
Yeah, and then the other, on the other side of the ball, the matchup for me is Jaden Daniels versus Aaron Glenn.
Yes,
because Aaron Glenn is getting a rookie quarterback whose ears will be bleeding. I think it's adorable that Washington fans are trying to stick their heads up and they're talking their junk.
Yeah.
And it's good because they finally have something other than a sex scandal to talk about, which is fun.
And they have a quarterback for a long time. It looks like. Sorry, I just started to jump in. That's they have the makings of. They're the Lions 2 years ago, right? I mean, they have what looks like a really, really good team in the making. Could be a rival soon.
They got what they thought Chicago was getting. Yeah. Aaron Glenn could. I mean, you saw what he did to Sam Darnold. He broke him. Aaron Glenn broke Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And Sam Darnold came out in that Rams game and was still broken, holding on to the ball for a half an hour. I mean, I tweeted that out during the game. I'm like, find someone in this life that holds you as tightly and as long as Sam Darnold holds the ball on a crucial third down, because that guy is not letting go of that thing no matter what. And so, Aaron Glenn has got to have a solid plan for this guy, and he could put him in a blender. I really, he's got the ability to do that with some things he's never seen before. There's no part of me that doesn't believe he won't comb through every bit of game tape. He's not going to see everything this kid's seen and go, well, guess what? Guess what I didn't see? I didn't see any of this. I didn't see any of this. I didn't see any of that. We're going to do it all.
Yeah.
And he got his nerve center to the defense back, going back to what we were talking about players coming back. Yep. Anzalone is back in there. So that does so many things to unlock Jack Campbell. It does so many things to, contribute to your shallow zones and your coverages and your tight ends and other things like that. And also when Jaden makes one of those insane plays, he's going to.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You've got the guy in Anzalone to pull everybody together. All right. He's really good at football.
Yep.
We knew that.
That's why he's playing.
Yep. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna move on. So that's on the other side is just what. After watching what he did to destroy a human being on live television for 3 hours in that second Vikings game, I'm on the bench really curious.
Sitting on the bench at the end, the ultimate insult. Oh man,
it's the most amazing thing. Like he's sitting in the concourse at a mall waiting for his wife to stop shoe shopping. He was just like not a care in the world, just sitting at a park enjoying a tea. So it was great.
It's awesome. Well,
he's going to have it for him.
Let's go for the matchups. Let's talk about the biggest watch outs for the Detroit Lions. And I think we got to start with Jaden Daniels, because he has the capability to make the big play and running quarterbacks throughout the NFL. As Campbell again laughed at the media for asking the question, right?
You guys have trouble with these guys. Yeah, so does everybody else.
Yeah.
So
that's the space. And that's where, again, we go back to Anzalone coming back is going to be a big piece of that. But Jaden Daniels against the Lions defense is one of those big watch outs, I think.
I'm not worried about that. I don't, because I think it's inevitable. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not Thanos, but it's pretty inevitable. He's going to get his. And we've seen guys over the years against this coaching staff. Justin Jefferson has gone off. He'll have a 200-yard game for Minnesota. The Lions win because they'll isolate and they'll still make you go to your off-speed stuff, or they funnel your entire offense through one guy, and that one guy has a great day for your fantasy team, but not enough to beat the offense. So, I anticipate Jaden making a couple of plays that, again, teach my kids some fun new slang, and then and he's going to get his. I don't worry about that. The only thing, and I had an argument earlier in the Slack about this, because somebody said that they felt like fans were taking Washington too lightly. I was like, that's not a thing. The fans taking the team lightly has no effect on anything. Like if the linebackers take them too lightly, we have a problem. If the wide receivers aren't running routes, that's an issue. If the coaches are sleepy, okay. But the fans, I'm 2 time zones away, man. I'm 1,900 miles from Detroit. I promise they can't hear me screaming through my TV. If I had that
I
often
kind of power,
wonder
if they can hear me. That Ebron draft pick, I am certain that was heard in Detroit from LA, bro. I was loud at that one.
I'm not proud.
Was a tough one. The words I said. Those are Lions words. That's what we call them for my son. When you say those things that they're not supposed to repeat, these are only Lions words, so you can't say them anywhere else.
Only in the living room on Sundays from 1 until 4. For me, it's the unknowable. because there isn't anything mathematically, scientifically, football guy. There's nothing to indicate that the Lions won't handle this. The line in Vegas has steadily moved up because all the money's coming in on the Lions. Anybody who breaks down the numbers on offense versus defense, all the various matchups, the rankings for the teams, all the way through the season, there's nothing to indicate that the Lions don't win. So it's something unknowable. It's something, that's the only thing that I can conjure, and that's just a phantom. That's a boogeyman. It's a clown under the bed.
Yeah. You don't like clowns,
because
do you?
Nobody likes clowns. You ever heard anybody be like, I love a clown? No, nobody's ever said that. They're terrifying. Thanks for nothing, Stephen King. So yeah, that's the boogeyman that's out there isn't something you can point to on a spreadsheet. It's not something you can find on tape. Jaden Daniels is going to make some yards. But I think this offense can overwhelm the defense. The Lions are as healthy as they've been in a couple of months. They finally got a bye week. They had to fight and scratch to get it, but they got it. And they've had this time to get right and to refocus. And all anybody would have to do, if there was somebody out there nursing that fear that the Lions themselves are taking Washington lightly, is fire up the Niners tape from the second half of last year. Fire that up and let me know if anybody's still sleeping.
That's the one thing that I was going to say is the not watch out. This team looking past the Redskins. Now, I'll say this was or Commanders.
Easy
doing this. They're going to go back to the Redskins. They've said it a couple times. They're going to be again. I swear to God, they're going back. Anyway, the Commanders, the football team, whatever they are this week. The old Lions, the pre-Campbell and Holmes Lions are a team that would have looked past this matchup. That's not who these people are, right? And now we got what I think is the best matchup of the playoffs of all the potentials that were out there in this one.
Yeah, without a doubt.
This team will not look past that. They will not accept that. As you talked about at the beginning when we talked about Montgomery coming back, this team goes at one speed. It's rabbit, it ain't turtle, and they're going rabbit. And they're not looking past this team. So that's one of the things that and these players have embodied that mentality. They're just not going to be that or do that. And it's one of the most heartening things. And I think it's one of the ways the Lions beat themselves so many times over the years was not winning games that they should have because they thought they should have. And they kind of deserved them. And that alone is probably 4 wins out of that 15 win season this year.
Yeah. And the fact that they've lived with success, if there was going to be a drop off, you're coming off an NFC Championship game run from a year ago, and you enter the season. You lose in week 2, and you go back and you look at the box score from that, and you were 400-plus yards of offense and just couldn't get anything done in the red zone. And there was a guy, again, I don't like to beat up the local media too much, but some of them deserve it.
I love it.
There was a guy, he went around – I remember it because, again, it's one of those where my wife stuck her head around from the kitchen like, are you okay? As I was watching the media sessions, and they were interviewing the players, and this guy asked each player, and I don't know who it is, so I can't name names. I would if I could, believe me. But it was the same voice, asked 3 different players if he thought this team was good enough to go on and, roll off some consecutive wins. It was after the Seattle game, I believe. Like, first of all, is there anybody who's going to say no? Nah, dude, bro, we're not that good. We're probably going to get beat a lot. Like, we're going to lose a lot of these games. We got no shot next week, for example. Consecutive wins. I'm just glad we got one. What are you, high? It's just the dumbest question possible.
We're just showing up so we don't get fined.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I was in Phoenix for that. I was at that Super Bowl. I was standing there like, oh, God. And they just kept going. And you see these automatons. I'm like, guys, please just stop. We're all so embarrassing right now. And there was one of those things where you could see it on the faces of the players. And I've seen it on Dan's face. Aaron's not as good at hiding it as some of the others, where they're just like, their eyes narrow and they're like, I don't want to call you a moron because that feels mean. So how do I answer this without making you sound like an idiot? It's really hard. Do you think you're ready to roll off some consecutive wins? Well, we all know what happened. They rolled out of that second game, that second week rather, and the loss, and then just bulldozed their way through till they ran into an alien and Josh Allen, and then had their second loss of the season. So there's nothing about this year that doesn't lead you to believe this team can handle success.
Yeah.
That they don't know how to handle prosperity, that they don't understand pressure. They've played in how many primetime games? I mean, I feel stupid every week because I bought the YouTube thing so I can watch them out here on my nice TV rather than trying to grab some scummy Czech internet stream. And so I've got the thing, and then every other week they're in goddamn primetime. So, they know how to do this. Yeah. They absolutely know how to do this. And if there's any rust, if there's anything, I've seen every one of those Penei Sewell pregame speeches. He'll scare it right out of you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
that dude.
What a man.
That dude.
What a man. I mean, he just looks at his wife and she's pregnant. That is a real man right there. Whoa.
God. You're lucky he didn't look at your wife and get her pregnant.
I'm lucky he hasn't looked at me because I feel like I'd be carrying twins.
Yeah. Ever see the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark? Yeah. Turn into a human candle and just melt. No, he's those are things, I'll spoiler alert, lock the gates. You're going to hear those words before that game on Saturday night.
Yeah. Yeah, they are definitely locked in Detroit with the Lions. Those Commanders. All right, let's get to it. Let's talk about predictions. I didn't know the crowd. Right. Sorry. Let's look ahead. What do you see? We've talked about who's out there, what the game plan is. We've talked a little bit about the guys coming back. What Washington can do. Where's your head at for this team?
I looked up some. I held up my notepad because I want people to know that I take this seriously. Oh, no, see, I messed with the contrast. Yeah, I wrote this stuff down and I had to see it for myself because I know that the Commanders beat Philly late, right? But that wasn't the Jalen Hurts Philly. That was what's his name from Pittsburgh, Mr. Gloves. I don't even remember the guy's name, but anyway, against top 5 offenses, they're winless. They played 2 all year. That's important. Yeah. They haven't played very many top 5 offenses. When they did, they lost. They played 5 top 10 offenses and finished 2-3. They played 9 offenses ranked between 21st and 32nd. 9 of their games. They're 8-1. They won 12 games.
Yeah.
2/3 of them, 66%, are against trash. Let's not forget they get the Giants twice.
Yeah, that's true.
They get Jerry World twice. The NFC, and they got one game against the Eagles where the quarterback's not in. So even their own divisional games. But other than that, they played Atlanta, New Orleans, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Chicago, Cleveland, Arizona. They got one game against Cincinnati, but that's in September when Cincinnati doesn't play football, as we all know.
Right.
They haven't played or had to defend a lot of very good offenses.
Right.
When they have played against them, they've gotten beat. And I will allow people to log on to whatever their favorite browser is right now and tell me where the Lions offense ranks overall.
I know. I can do it with one finger.
Yeah. Exactly.
Do a lot of things with one finger.
It's the one I get most of my mileage out of. You've got the best offense in the league. The Jaden Daniels story is a good one. He's amazing.
Yeah,
he's a star.
Yep.
But he's going to be in an absolutely insane Thunderdome environment, and he's not the one that Washington should be concerned about. That defense, they got to hold their water in a way they haven't all year. They've only been challenged a few times, and they've failed every time. And now they've got the best team that there is on their own home turf. And again, in front of 65,000 Metro Detroiters that will be tailgating starting at 6:30 that morning for an 8:30 p.m. kickoff.
Yes.
So
yes. And
best of luck, son.
And that want absolute blood. This team has this fandom, this fan base has trained for this moment and for it to be a seed in the playoffs. The noise that happens in Ford Field when this team wasn't good was crazy, was insane.
Yeah.
This year, having gone to a couple games, even the Buffalo game, how loud it got in Ford Field. People are not prepared for that. You know, the whole stupid 12th man thing in Seattle. Right. That was always like 12. I just thought that was the dumbest thing.
I will say, dude, I was there for their heyday from 13 to 15.
Yeah.
It was loud.
Oh,
and those foils over the stands, they work as they're baffles.
Yeah.
Oh, and that 50-yard line was a bad place to be. So yeah, it's but Detroit, nobody knows it except for you. And except for the fans, the people in Wayne, Oakland, Macomb County, they know it.
And
they
West
understand,
Michigan,
but the rest of the nation
West Michigan
doesn't
love.
think so.
Ken will kill me if we don't give West Michigan some love.
Shout out Friesland. How you doing, Saugatuck?
Oh man. Yeah, no, for real. Team, they expect it, but they don't expect it. That's the thing. It's always overwhelming when you get there, and as much as you think you can talk about your silent count and everything else, coming to Ford Field, you saw it even last year. The Rams, the trouble that they had, that Matthew Stafford, who's been here, had, and who could tell them and instruct them and say, "I've done this. I know what to look for." It overwhelmed them many times. This is going to be a tough place to play with a fan base that is absolutely ready to win. Oh, it's going to be good. So what do you got? What do you got for numbers? What do you got for numbers, my man?
I can't go all the way to the Vegas spread. I think it was 9.5. It might have moved to 10. I heard it moved to 10.5. I don't gamble, so I don't keep track of that too much. But it was 9.5 the last time I checked it online. I've got 35-24. I've got, which is 9, obviously, or no, I guess that's 11. But yeah, 35-24 with some garbage points from Washington at the end. Feels like, I saw the strategy. It's like, all you got to do is hold the Lions to 20 or less points and they could win this. I'm like, okay, if you can do that at halftime, tip of the cap. Again, I don't gamble. So I don't do the lines. I don't know against the spread. I don't have any of those numbers because I don't do any of that. But yeah, 35-24 feels like where it's at.
Yeah.
And again, that's relying on the things that they need to do. They need to be locked in on offense. They can't waste early possessions. And then all 11 guys on that Washington offense have to be able to deal with the noise. We always talk about the quarterback.
For 60
Can the quarterback
minutes.
communicate? For 60 minutes, can you keep from jumping? Can you keep it from getting to you when it's just, we've heard it from the Lions themselves on the sideline. They're like, after a while, it starts to wear you out and we're not on the field. We're not playing. I'm just on the sideline. Like, man, this is loud. So,
It's fantastic.
So yeah, that's what I think. What about you?
I'm in the same neighborhood. I was here last night. I'm at 36-23. I got a point either way from you, right? I think it's going to be a big win for the Lions. I do, and again, I don't mean this as disrespect to the Washington Redskins, the Commanders. I feel like, see, I'm an old school football guy.
Oh, stop changing your name every 3 weeks. It's not our fault.
I'm in a weird way, and I say this, I'm a bit of a fan of that team and how they've been able to come back from what they were, and the Snyder era, we'll just call it. That was terrible. They've got a great quarterback. I think, I've told people about this with the Lions, that take it while you can, while people feel good about you and you're a feel good story, because they're going to hate you soon enough, whether you deserve it or not. I'm in that. I feel good for the Redskins now because they kind of deserve a good time, and they're going to be a good team. They well may end up a rival of the Lions because they may be ascending at the same time and having to try to overcome the Lions as maybe their big fight in the playoffs, because I see them back next year and the year after, because I think they're only going to get better. I just don't think this is their year. I've talked about Lions destiny and that kind of feeling. They're unstoppable. Sure. Feels like this year the Lions are just on this. So no disrespect.
Well, and no, I'll add a layer to that. I know Dan Quinn from my time in Seattle. He's a great guy, and he's a hell of a football coach. He takes his teaching really seriously. He's a good dude. I learned a lot of football from that man on and off the record. He'd walk me through all kinds of things. So nothing but respect for him. I think I'm glad he gets a chance to rewrite history with the way it ended in Atlanta and how that all went for him with the Falcons. So I think that's all great. Jaden Daniels seems like a rock solid guy. I have zero issue with this franchise. It's just, I mean, it's like the new kid at the boxing gym. Yep. You keep training hard, kid. You keep working, you might be something. But if you get in the ring with that man, your ass is getting knocked out.
Yeah.
Like you got all the skill in the world, but you don't know what you don't know yet. And they do.
Yeah. 100%.
So, and to your other point about taking it while you can, you'll appreciate this. I haven't had a chance to tell you this story yet. I'll keep it brief. I was at the gym myself. It was about 2 months ago. And I had a Lions hat on. And for the first time in my damn near half a century on this planet, I had a guy walk up, go, "Lions, huh? So you bandwagon much?" I was like, "Wait, what? Is that a thing?" He's like, "Yeah, everybody likes the Lions now." I'm like, "Well, my signed Eric Hipple pennant says that I've been doing this for a minute. Like I've been at this a while, but if there's a bandwagon, I don't know, but I'd be driving it." So, I'm an old head.
Yeah. I've got an old Jeff Chadwick as a Seattle guy. You would maybe remember that even he's old school for them too. Jeff Chadwick, black and white 8x10 when they used to do those. Remember? Those are some old school times, man. Whew.
Eric Hipple came to a car dealership in Fenton, Michigan, which is a suburb. It's a burb of Flint. Yep. And my mom, broke as a joke as we were growing up, she got this like dollar store knockoff Kmart pennant. It's not even the right colors. The helmet's white. It looks like the logo. It's like when you get something and it definitely came from China, you're like, this isn't the real thing. But he signed it anyway for me when I was, I think I was 7, 8 years old. It still hangs in my shop.
Yeah.
I still have it. It's all dirty, stained, because it was in my bedroom forever, like my whole life growing up. Yeah. So I thought that was funny that you got people now, they're like, another one of these Johnny come lately Lions fans. Yep. Where's your Lakers jersey? No, son. Let's not get it to you. See the gray in this beard? The Lions contributed to a lot of this.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, all the Stoney Case, Mike McMahon years. I lived through all of them. So
Chuck Long draft.
Oh God! And the first, I still remember his first throw. It was a touchdown. I'm like, oh my God, they did it. They found a quarterback. I watched that kid at Iowa. I'm like, this is going to be great. I hate his curly hair, but if he throws touch, and then that was the last time he did anything good. It's that one play. Brutal. Yeah, it's always a favorite game of any real Lions fan is going back through all of the quarterbacks.
Andre Ware. I mean, he's the obvious one, the most obvious one, but boy,
you can do it. Eric Kramer, Scott Mitchell, like I said, Stoney Case, Mike McMahon,
Gary Danielson. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And of course, Joey Harrington, who took more heat probably than he deserved. That was so much more than a Harrington problem. So much more than Joey Harrington. Yeah,
no, it was, and the Lions were flawed from I know we're going to go long here if I go too far into this. Like Sheila fixed it. Yeah. We got to give credit where credit's due. None of this happens unless Sheila takes over, and she's got a good plan. And Joey took some heat for what went wrong with that, but he was also kind of terrible. I go back to Tom Kowalski showing me the photo of him leaning over the podium with the Oregon sticker, spelled Orygun, because he would not take a question from the local media from anybody that said Oregon. That's who he was from day one. Like, Brad, you don't want to pull that Nowlin Park. That's you don't get picky about your pronunciations.
Yeah, for especially in Michigan. So here's I gotta go to the chat here because there's a lot. Bob Gagliano. I was a Lions fan in 1970 during Bill Munson, Greg Landry controversy. Rusty Hilger, Joe Reed, Charlie Batch, Jeff Como, John Witkowski, Dave Craig, Ty Detmer, Jeff Garcia, Gus Frerotte. Oh my God. The Dante Culpepper, Dan Orlovsky. Oh my God. What? Sean Hill. Yeah. Sean Hill, I actually liked. He was the best backup we had. I hope to see Hendon Hooker surpass that. I think the guy's got a lot of talent. I think we just haven't been able to see it. And I hope he is him. It's going to be interesting though, because if you've got 10 more years, we'll say 8 years of Jared Goff still, Hendon will just never see the field, right? I mean, yeah,
well, but Hendon might see the field for somebody else.
Maybe it'll be one of those things where what was his name? I don't want to say Garoppolo. Is that it? The guy who played for San Francisco, but was behind Tom Brady and then Brady got hurt and he got a couple snaps.
How about Jimmy G?
Yeah. Jimmy G. Yeah, he made a whole career out of it. You know, maybe Hendon can do something like that too.
And the Patriots showed the way with that. Shipping out backup quarterbacks that never had to prove themselves, like Matt Castle and Jimmy G. Yep. You get a nice little draft pick back for it. Yep. Then he goes and fails for somebody else.
Yep.
And the birds are chirping about Tom Brady trying to make sure that, I don't want to get outside of this game, but making sure that Ben might be his guy, and Hendon may or may not be a part of that in Vegas.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So.
You'll see.
Oh, God, right. The quarterback names just keep coming in.
Yeah, they just it's
there's something if you're even older than me. That's something.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, there you go. Michael Gray is back with the gray in the beard from the Lions. It's all the colors coming back, man. All the colors coming back this year. I promise you. I might be a liar.
So bad on camera.
No, you look
bad on camera.
You look astute.
It's not even though. It's like
wise. That's why I don't grow anymore. Cat. Yeah, that's why I shave.
Oh,
no,
I can't. I can't shave. I did that once. I came downstairs and my family was revulsed by my. They're like, nope. We don't. I'm like, are you saying you don't like my face? They're all of them. We're like, yeah, no, don't do that again. This is no good.
This is how to make them pay. This is how to make them pay. Now you know.
Right.
Oh, okay. I'll be back in a moment, folks.
I'm out here in Montana, so I fit right in.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, man, this is a fun one, Mike. Really hope to do this more. The gray man. Remember, folks, don't forget about us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. $5 a month gets you into the Slack chat. Gray hangs out there. He's been there for a while.
He's been there all the time.
Yeah, we're there. Everyone, Riz, me, all the guys, Ash, Bish, Brown, we're all hanging out, talking Lions all year round. It's a great place to hang out. Also, follow us on Twitter at the Michael Gray. Is it the same on Blue Sky? Are you the Michael Gray there too?
It's the same everywhere.
Okay, there you go.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Bluesky, all of that.
And we're DET Lions podcast on Twitter. All the notes about the show. We'll be back with a post-game show. This is a busy week. 3 shows, 4 days, something like that. It's going to be a heavy lift.
Kind of a big game. Yeah. Get after it. Get to work.
Might have to talk about it. That's right. And you all know about our record on post-game shows this year. So we hope.
Yeah. How about not skipping any more of those, ass? Don't think I wasn't keeping track of that. Like, there's no post-game show.
I apologize. I really do. I didn't know we had that kind of power here, but I will wield it carefully now.
Yeah, go ahead and tempt the fates. Jackwagon.
Oh, man. Go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast so we can show up in your listening ears via all the aggregators the way we normally do. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, and, no pants, because that's how we do it. We are your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection. Thank you all. We'll see you after the game, after Big Lions victory.
I will beat your ass.